Lines write their slow calligraphy across walls that once echoed with prayer. Where the boundary between what humans built and what the forest has reclaimed dissolves into something neither temple nor wilderness, but both, there lies a city that forgot how to remember itself, then was remembered again by those who had forgotten it ever existed. This is Angkor, the heart that stopped beating, the kingdom beneath the jungle's breath. In the forests of Cambodia, hidden for 4 centuries beneath a canopy so dense that sunlight reaches the ground only in scattered coins of gold, there sprawls a city larger than modern Paris. Not a city of ruin exactly, though ruin is certainly there. Not a city of preservation, though preservation efforts continue. Something else. A city in transformation, where stone temples and strangler figs have become a single entity, where galleries designed for ritual procession now serve as corridors for monkeys and birds, where sacred pools reflect both the faces of ancient gods and the slow breathing of leaves overhead. It is said that at its height, Angkor commanded an empire of over 1 million souls. The Khmer kings who ruled from these temples understood 2 things with profound clarity: that water is life in a land of monsoons and droughts, and that architecture can be prayer made permanent, theology rendered in stone. They built accordingly. The central temple, Angkor Wat, was designed as nothing less than a scale model of the Hindu cosmos itself. 5 towers rise from its heart, each one representing a peak of Mount Meru, the sacred mountain at the center of all existence, the axis around which the universe turns. These towers are surrounded by walls that echo the mountain ranges at the edge of the world, the barriers that separate the realm of gods from the realm of mortals. And all of this, towers, walls, galleries, carved with scenes from the Ramayana and Mahabharata, is encircled by a moat mirroring the cosmic ocean, the primordial waters from which all creation emerged, and to which all creation will eventually return. To walk into Angkor Wat is not simply to enter a building. It is to step into a map of existence, to move through the layers of reality, as the ancient Hindus understood them, to climb from the earthly realm through successive states of refinement until you reach the central tower, the pinnacle, the place where human and divine meet in stone silence. But Angkor Wat, magnificent as it is, represents only one temple among hundreds, only one expression of devotion in a city that was itself an act of worship. The Bayon, with its 54 towers, each bearing 4 faces of the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, gazing with stone serenity in every direction. Ta Proam, where the jungle has been allowed to maintain its grip, where silk cotton trees grow from rooftops and their roots cascade down walls like frozen waterfalls. Preah Khan, Bante Shrey, Neek Peen, each temple a theological statement, each one built by kings who understood that immortality comes not through conquest, but through creating beauty that outlasts the body. Yet beneath all this spiritual architecture, beneath the carved devatas and the bas-reliefs and the soaring towers, lay something even more remarkable: the most sophisticated water management system of the pre-industrial world. Whispers tell us that the true genius of Angkor was hydraulic. The Khmer engineers understood what many civilizations never grasped: that water, properly controlled, transforms scarcity into abundance, turns seasonality into permanence, makes possible concentrations of population that the natural landscape alone could never support. They built reservoirs called barays, vast artificial lakes that captured the monsoon rains, storing the deluge of wet season to sustain the city through the long dry months. The West Baray alone could hold more than 50 million cubic meters of water. They surrounded their temples with moats that served not just symbolic purposes, but practical ones, regulating water flow, moderating temperature, providing fish and lotus and the daily necessity of life. They cut canals that connected reservoirs to rice paddies, turning the floodplain into a perpetually productive garden capable of multiple harvests per year. This was engineering as sophisticated as anything Rome achieved, water management as complex as any modern system, yet accomplished without concrete or steel, relying instead on careful observation of landscape, patient understanding of hydrology, and the sustained labor of a civilization that could mobilize resources on a scale few cultures have ever matched. For centuries, the system worked. The reservoirs filled, the canals flowed, the rice paddies flourished, the population grew. The temples rose higher, more elaborate, more numerous. Angkor became one of the largest urban areas in the pre-industrial world, a city of perhaps 1 million people, sustained by hydraulic genius and religious devotion in equal measure. And then, in the 15th century, something failed. Beneath the silence of what we cannot fully explain, theories accumulate. Perhaps the water system became too complex, too fragile, too dependent on constant maintenance that a weakening state could no longer provide. Perhaps deforestation in the watershed above Angkor disrupted the delicate balance of seasonal flow. Perhaps climate change. Evidence suggests a period of severe drought followed by intense flooding stressed the system beyond its capacity to adapt. Perhaps religious conversion from Hinduism to Buddhism shifted priorities, making the elaborate Hindu temples seem less essential, less worthy of the resources needed to maintain them. Perhaps invasion pressure from neighboring Thai kingdoms made the exposed capital untenable, forced a retreat to more defensible positions. Or perhaps, and this is the interpretation that carries the most spiritual weight, the collapse was simply the natural completion of a cycle, the inevitable return to equilibrium that all systems, no matter how sophisticated, eventually undergo. That Angkor, like every human achievement, was temporary by nature, held together by constant effort against entropy's patient hunger. And when that effort faltered, nature reclaimed what had always been hers. The capital was abandoned, not suddenly, not catastrophically, but gradually over decades. The population dispersed. The waterworks fell into disrepair. The reservoirs silted up. The canals clogged with vegetation. And the jungle, which had been held at bay for centuries by constant clearing and burning, began its patient reclamation. Where memory fades, the forest remembers. Strangler figs sent their seeds into cracks in temple walls. The seeds sprouted. Roots descended, searching for soil, wrapping around doorways and windows, growing slowly thicker until stone and wood became impossible to distinguish. Silk cotton trees, the spung in Khmer, took root on roof terraces, their massive trunks emerging from galleries like pillars designed by nature to complement those carved by human hands. Vines covered bas-reliefs. Moss softened the faces of gods. Birds nested in meditation chambers. Monkeys leaped between towers that once marked the sacred peaks of Mount Meru. For 400 years, Angkor existed in this state. Not destroyed, not preserved, but transformed. The jungle and the temple became one thing, neither wholly natural nor wholly human, but a collaboration between human ambition and natural persistence, between the impulse to build and the imperative to reclaim. When French explorers discovered Angkor in the mid-19th century, though local Khmer had always known it was there, had continued to worship at Angkor Wat through all the centuries of abandonment, they found something that defied easy categorization. The temples were not ruins in the European sense, not piles of fallen stone like the Parthenon or the Colosseum. They were alive, integrated into the forest ecosystem, functioning as habitat and shelter, their galleries serving as corridors for wildlife, their pools reflecting trees rather than sky, their walls supporting entire ecosystems of moss and fern and orchid. Walk through Angkor now, in the early morning when the tour groups have not yet arrived. When mist still hangs between the trees and the light comes golden and diffused through the canopy, you will find that the forest and the temple have become inseparable. At Ta Prohm, conservators have chosen to leave many of the trees in place, recognizing that removal would cause more damage than preservation. The roots have become structural, bearing weight the stone alone might no longer support. To remove the tree would be to collapse the wall. This is the lesson Angkor teaches most powerfully. That abandonment sometimes creates a more profound kind of beauty than preservation ever could. The temples in their original state, freshly carved, painted, gleaming, must have been magnificent. But they were also finished, complete, static. Now they are alive again in a different way, participating in ongoing transformation, hosting ecosystems, changing with each season. As the light shifts, and the vines grow, and the rain carves new channels in ancient stone. Marked by the moon, touched by dawn light that filters through galleries designed to frame sunrise on the spring equinox, Angkor exists in a state of permanent becoming. It is not what it was when the Khmer kings ruled. It is not what it will be in another century when more roots have penetrated, more stones have shifted, more equilibriums have been reached between human legacy and natural reclamation. Perhaps civilizations are not meant to be permanent. Perhaps their greatest gift is not their endurance, but what they become after they fade. The ruins they leave behind, the questions they pose to future generations, the beauty that emerges when human ambition and natural patience finally achieve synthesis. The dawn light strengthens. It filters through stone windows carved 8 centuries ago, illuminating bas-reliefs where gods dance and demons war in eternal cosmic drama. The light touches silk cotton roots that descend from rooftops like offerings, like prayers in reverse, growing downward rather than upward, connecting what humans built to the earth from which all building materials are borrowed. And in that light, in the space between stone and root, temple and forest, past and present, there rests no answer but a question without words. If Angkor had been preserved perfectly, maintained continuously, kept exactly as its builders intended, would it teach us what it teaches now? Would it speak as eloquently about impermanence, about transformation, about the collaboration between human creation and natural process, about the beauty that emerges not from resisting change, but from participating in it? The temple stands. The forest breathes. The kingdom beneath the jungle's breath continues its slow transformation, patient as stone, persistent as roots, eternal as the cycle that brings all things into being and returns them, eventually transformed but not destroyed, to the elements from which they rose.